Welcome back, my friends, to the show which never ends, with an anthropomorphic hen. Come inside, come inside. Come join me and Ziv, talk about creatures that live in the darkness of your id. Come inside, come inside. Come inside, believe me folks, it's great. Streaming on the last Wednesday at 8. Come inside and hear us, well you know. We'll take you places you want to go. Come and see the show. The Comedy Rhino. Come and see the show. It's great, you know. They're behind that boxes in criminal in a box. There's Canadian Dave Scott. Come inside, come inside. Goodness, it's his nibs, the one and only in squid. Exposing late most of fibs. Come inside, come inside. Come inside, the show's about to start. An insane mix of science, crap and art. Come and see the show. It's good, you know. Come and see the show. The last Wednesday show. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Last Wednesday show. And this is a particularly special episode, not just because of our very welcome special guest, who I will introduce you to in a minute, but because we are at the time Samhain. We are coming to the time when the veil between the living and the dead is at its thinnest. And for some reason, you English people all refer to it as Halloween, All Hallows Eve. And so, as a celebration of that, Mr. Ian Scribbs' idea, we're all wearing appropriate clothes. And I, having spent a large amount of money, it cost me £7.50 on eBay. Here is my voodoo practitioner's hat, and I also have, just like Mark Whelan said in Ride a White Swan, I've got to get a black cat and put her on your shoulder, and I've got a black cat. Her name is Lilith Tinkerbell, and I am dressed up as a practitioner of the worship of Papa Legby, the god of the dead, and I hope my brother, the Church of England pastor, never sees this video. Now I'm going to introduce you not only to our special guest this week, who is the one and only Roland Watts, but I'm also going to introduce you to the rest of the representatives who make up the panel. And apparently,
good evening.
What's happened? Goodness me.
Crikey.
That's the spirit.
We all costumed up.
Very good.
You like them?
Groovy.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, our special guest, Roland Watson. How are you, Roland?
Hurrah. Oh, he's gone again.
Are you there, Roland? We've been having a few technical issues.
Yay.
Good evening, Roland.
Good evening.
What's been happening most recently at Loch Ness? Hello?
It's frozen there.
No, it seems
Can
okay.
you not hear us? Can you not hear us? Write something on a bit of paper and hold it up, John.
I can hear you.
No, there you go.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
So tell us, what's the latest from Loch Ness?
The latest.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have the usual sightings of distant. We recently had what we call the Quest, which is run by the Loch Ness Centre and its exhibition, in which a lot of like-minded enthusiasts got together in May to conduct service observations and conduct some nighttime activity. And we also met back in August as well. So we've got a nice little band of monster hunters growing under help of another group called the Loch Ness Exploration Group, run by Alan McKenna. So
and there's several of these days a year, isn't there, Roland, where people turn out to study the loch.
I think Roland's frozen again.
Is he frozen? Was it a bit of a slow connection?
basically,
It's cold in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
we basically man the stations
Yeah, there we go.
and people report.
Oh, damn.
Mm.
And people basically log their sightings and any other area of interest.
And
So
how
we'll be
many
back in
turn
May
out?
next year.
How many turn out for these days? Would you say? Quite a
I
few. I
never actually
understand.
counted them.
Mm-hmm.
I think when we first ran the Quest a few years back, there was more media people than actual volunteers. There journalists from all over the world, people, cameramen, made news, Australia, America. It's a
Yeah.
big event, biggest Nessie hunt in 50 years, is the headlines.
What was that?
So I was glad to be part of it. Didn't see the monster myself though. Eternal.
Would that have been the biggest since Operation Deep Scan? Oh dear, what a...
Oh dear. Well, there's a bit of a slow connection going on, I think, isn't there?
Mm.
Bit of hanging.
Okay,
I can hear you.
good. I'm sorry about all the technical problems. In fact, I don't know why I'm apologising. It's not me, it's the gods of the internet that are playing around. But when was the last, because I read all the newspaper headlines saying that it was the biggest mass investigation for 50 years. Was the previous one they were referring to Operation Deep Scan? I'm not sure what to do here, guys. Suggestions, please.
Or sometimes if you go out and come back in again, sometimes that'll work. That worked for me last time.
Because I think Roland's frozen completely, poor chap.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it's cold in Scotland.
Yeah.
I already said that joke, right?
Yeah.
That joke.
Twice.
Well,
We enjoyed it both times.
what's
I'm
Roland
liking this hairdo.
gone? No,
Yes,
John.
absolutely.
John, Operation Deep Scan, that was more boat-based, wasn't it, though? That was a boat, a sonar. That was in 1987, wasn't it, where they had a sonar curtain from a row of boats across the loch and tried to cover the whole thing with sonar.
I just can't think of another mass one.
Well, there was There was the LNI one, the LNI from the 60s, wasn't there? That was a, and then you had Adrian Shine in the 70s, and also you had the American guy. What was his name?
Robert
Rhines.
Wright.
Yeah.
Were any of these mass ones?
Well, they was just smaller ones, weren't they? I would have thought the biggest ones would have been the LNI ones from the sort of the 60s, early 70s, unless I'm mistaken.
What about the last one a couple of years ago?
I think that's the one Roland was on about.
Oh, okay.
They've been going on for a few years now. I think. Are you back with us, Roland?
Hi, Roland. Is your mic working now?
I went out.
Oh dear, this is a great disappointment, isn't it?
Well, we were looking forward to having Roland on so much, but we'll see how we go. Hopefully things will improve a little bit.
Hi, Nico.
Hi, Nico.
Yeah,
Can
Nico.
you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can
Yes.
hear you now. Lovely.
So, Roland, what got you into all this? How did you begin with your interest in Loch Ness?
Yeah, it goes back to being a teenager, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, just up the road in Loch Ness.
Mm-hmm.
Which at the time, I presumed Loch Ness Monster was to be some kind of dinosaur.
Yeah.
I didn't actually get to Loch Ness till about early 1980s when I was a student.
Mm-hmm.
Went up my bike, youth hosteling.
Yeah.
So that was my first taste of Loch Ness. And
what was going on at the time around the loch at that time? Was Adrian Shine there? Did you see any of his party, or Frank Searle, of course, early 80s? He would have still been around.
yeah, time of transition.
Mm-hmm.
We're coming off the back of the Robert Rhines underwater photo.
Yeah.
Things began to shift. Things became a bit more skeptical, I would say.
Yeah.
So people like Tim Dinsdale, Robert Rhines were going out of the picture, and people like Adrian Shine and others were, I suppose they'd call it taking a more scientific view, and they began to study the ecology of the loch, apply more techniques to exploring the loch like sonar. So things began to take a more, and being scientific, they would be looking for a bit more evidence than just photographs.
And
So I'd say that 30, 40 years.
Mm-hmm. So when you went up there as a teenager at that time, did you meet Adrian and his team at that time doing their research, or anyone else?
Well, I do remember Operation. Yeah, I do remember Operation Deep Scan, which was run by Adrian back in about 1987. I didn't actually meet Adrian till about early 2000s, 2010. We have good conversations. We normally meet, not regularly, but whenever I'm at Loch Ness, I'm more than likely to bump into him. He still works for the Loch Ness Centre.
Yeah.
I do not think there's any large unknown animals in Loch Ness. I do. So we have our little discussions and debates about that. He's pretty convinced I'll eventually become a skeptic because I've progressed from a plesiosaur to something less exotic, but still big and exotic.
Well, what do you think it could be?
What do I think it could be?
Yes. What do you think? What do you think? If it's not
I-
not a plesiosaur,
And
long
I
neck
pretty
seal,
much stuck
perhaps.
to that belief back in the 19... I don't think I've ever heard that view. I mean, I thought it was a tupa, some kind of materialized thought form.
Mhm.
Yeah. I followed some people's works. Actually, I think Doc Shields was part of that retinue back then. And a few others like Nick Redfern, believe in that kind of thing. But I eventually moved back to kind of biological, physical species, which, in my view, it's a water dominant air breather like a mammal or reptile. Could be a fish, but not a sturgeon, not anything like that. Its morphology. Its shape is definitely four limbs, flipper types, large bulbous body, long tail and long neck,
Yeah.
and a small head. But there's other interpretations. I've actually also considered that the long neck may not actually be a neck at all, but some other kind of like a not a tentacle, but some other appendage. But
Yeah, Doc Shields favoured the tentacle view, didn't he? So,
the paranormal squid.
yeah.
Well,
I
I think that was a lot of that was because he found the idea of it being something to do with H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos and music.
Yeah, he did. He was also a bit of a hoaxer, in my opinion. Don't know if you agree with that, Jonathan.
Oh yes, I mean I don't. I was very close to him. He was a bit like a second father to me. I was very, very fond of the man, but you had to take everything he said with a big pinch of salt.
Yeah, I mean, we knew he. Yeah, he admitted hoaxing some pictures. When I was writing my book, Photographs Loch Ness Monster, back in 2019, whatever it was, I included his photograph from 1977 during what he called the Monster Mind project. So I wrote a letter off to him back in 2020s. I sent him a free copy of my book on water horses and folklore, because I thought he said that a guy is quite interested in that subject. And it's probably a bribe, though, to maybe get a letter back from him saying I confess to everything and here's why. But I got a letter back from Doc Shields. He's still stuck to his story about the long-necked photographs he took, but he always tended to couch it in language which you might think he could interpret two ways. But it's good to have communicated with him. It was the only time I ever did. But certainly the photographs he took were impressive visually, certainly.
Both him and his wife, up until the last time I saw him, which was about 10 years ago, both him and his wife still stuck to the story that what they had seen coming out of the lake was what was on that image.
Yep.
I've always thought it's a particularly unlikely looking image, but
he was associated
with a magician.
He was associated with he was a friend of a puppet maker, I believe, in America somewhere, and the implication was that it was a Loch Ness Muppet. The Muppets were quite popular. The Muppets were quite popular at that time. I remember watching them myself as a kid every week. So I had the definite look of a puppet. Maybe that photograph has a hand stuck a bit underneath that fabric somewhere. He did send another photograph anonymously to a newspaper by which looks extraordinarily like his own long neck and head photograph. Somebody sent an anonymous version of the same Muppet, which he tried to send as corroboration of what he'd seen. But I'm afraid anything Doc said had to be taken with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, I was very, very fond of the old boy, but I don't think that one can really see that as those pictures as particularly good justification for the being in a real animal in existence.
Well, how can I put it? The foundation of all this is the corpus of eyewitness sightings. That is the database. So if you come up with a photograph that isn't described by anyone else, it's going to be suspect. So whenever you get a photograph like that, like Doc Shields' photograph, you can pull up the database, you can check on long neck head and neck sightings, and tell you the truth, no one really described verbally what Doc Shields said he took with his camera. So everything has to corroborate everything. I mean, we can't just accept any old description of Nessie. There has to be some kind of continuity. There has to be some kind of homogeneity in what people describe. You can't have a different Nessie being described each time, especially in photographs. That's why the photographic evidence is tainted. It's tainted by a lot of fakes and misidentifications. And people say, well, how can Nessie be true if all these photographs are different? But the truth is, some of the photographs are different because they're different things altogether. They're not a Nessie, they're fakes. And a subset of all these things are photographs of Loch Ness Monster. And there is a degree of continuity between them all. But everything's tainted by liars and people who misidentify stuff. So you have this three-way mix of the truth, the good, the bad, and the ugly, really. And people like me have to try and sift it out and not throw out the baby with the bathwater at the same time.
I think basically all the classic photos are fakes, are they not? From the black and white, all the black and white photos that we are familiar with, Stuart, the surgeon, etc. The one with the castle, the McNabb photo. Are they not? They've all been debunked, have they not? I don't think any of those are.
They've not been debunked. In my
have
opinion.
they not?
There's people who they don't believe in the monster, so they basically come up with any explanation, and they accuse people of fakery when they have no proof. So I mean, the first photograph of Nessie was taken by Hugh Gray in 1933. People have been trying to debunk that picture for decades, and they come up with stuff like a dog with a stick in its mouth, or it's a dead swan lying in the water, and nobody can prove it's a hoax unless the hoaxer confesses it.
You can see like a dog image there, but obviously it's pareidolia, isn't it? If it could easily, but you can actually see why they would say it's a dog, or maybe a double exposure of like a Labrador. You can kind of see that in the picture, but again, it could just be pareidolia. You're seeing the dog there, but what that shows is a difficult one, isn't it?
It's well, for decades, the standard photograph, the Hugh Gray photograph, was a rather poor version. Was doing the rounds in the books through the decades. But there's a better version taken by Heron Allen, which actually shows a head of some description to the far right of the picture. Yeah. People at the time of the photograph were noting that there was some kind of seal-like head to the right. But it got lost in the noise, and this poor photograph, over-contrasted, took over, and people couldn't see it.
At first viewing, I would say it shows the back and a flipper, but there is kind of like a head-type structure towards the right, an open mouth type thing. Is it that?
To the left, there's a tail. The bulbous body in the middle, and then to the right, obscured by some wee water action and motion blur, is a head with an open mouth. In my opinion, I mean.
Yeah. Darren
John,
Nash's.
do we have any of these pictures to put on the screen?
I am just looking for you now.
Darren Nash is in favour of the swan theory for that. He's saying it's a swan with its head under the water, which
No,
you can kind of see again, but I don't think it is myself.
It's not a swan. It's the body's too extended.
Exactly, yeah.
The body's too extended to be a swan.
You can see it there. Now, can you see, like, you can see when people say that shows a Labrador's face there, and that one.
I can't see that it looks anything like a swan.
Yeah, I don't go with the swan theory either. But
and again, Darren's an old friend of mine. I've known him for years. But,
that picture's the inferior version. It's over contrasted.
Yeah.
There's a better photograph doing the rounds on the internet. So it's what you look at influences your decisions, really. The less information you have.
A different one there. Now, you can't see the dog's head there. So it's whatever version you look at, isn't it?
That's one of mine. That's
is that yours?
One of my articles. But the best version doesn't really show a dog at all.
I can't see a dog in that one.
The first one you showed us there, John, you could see what people are getting at when they do say that. Though, 2 eyes and a nose, and maybe a bit of an ear. But yeah.
Yeah, but the problem is once you see a dog, you can't unsee it. Thereafter, it just sticks in your mind, really. So. I can see the dog, but I don't believe it's a dog at all.
It's like when you mishear something in a song lyric, you can't unhear it. I can't listen to Purple Haze without hearing Jimi Hendrix singing "Excuse Me While I Kiss This Guy."
Yeah.
But the other black and white photographs, I mean, obviously the surgeon's photograph is a famous one. I mean, I do believe that is a fake. I think Alistair Boyd back in the 90s did a good job exposing that as a handiwork of Marmaduke Wetherell, who was employed by the Daily Mail to hunt down Nessie back in the early days. There's still people who don't believe the hoax is a hoax. So, and they'll raise certain issues like there's a second photograph taken by Kenneth Wilson, the surgeon, and it's not really accounted for how that is there. So I can see the point, but I think we have a confession from Christian Spurling, who was a step. I can't remember if it was a son-in-law or whatever, Marmaduke Wetherell, but he died 30 years ago. But Alistair Boyd, it wasn't a deathbed confession. It was a confession made in his sitting room. He died a couple of years later. Everyone generally accepts that is the story. The story is pretty watertight.
He claims to have made the model, doesn't he, Christian Spurling?
Yeah, he took a popular toy submarine at the time, the Unda Wunda, whatever it's called, submarine, and stuck on it with something called plastic wood.
Here's the other one.
That is the second surgeon's photograph.
Yeah.
I mean, people assume that it's the submarine could dive. It could actually go underwater. So they assume that that is the second photograph of the same model going underwater. Maybe it is. It looks more or less the same, but the majority accept it's a fake second photograph or not. But others see holes in the hoax story. For example, Marmaduke Wetherell. Why if he's going to embarrass the Daily Mail by telling them after they published it that this photograph is a fake, why didn't he do it? He didn't do it. So people assume he's just too afraid to get his pants sued off him or something like that. So It's the most iconic image, even to this day. That image is used to represent the Loch Ness Monster, and it's a pretty good image. Unfortunately, it's also symbolic of the many hoaxes and people telling jokes and fibs throughout the decades. But the other black and white photographs, I mean, after the surgeon's photograph, there was no more photographs for another nearly 20 years. Once the Second World War took off and rationing and all that, people were travelling less. Basically, Loch Ness became kind of off limits. It wasn't until maybe like rationing didn't end until about 1954. People started going back to Loch in the 1950s. And Lachlan Stewart, as you mentioned, with his 3 triangular humps in 1951. Yes, that is me. If that's the question.
Yes, Simon, you've had it from his own mouth. It is him.
I confess. So, Lachlan Stewart, I mean, I've written about all these photographs on that blog, just advertised below. So if anyone wants to dig deeper and not just accept what other people are trying to debunk, I try to present the alternative view. Now, I'm not trying to prove that every single photograph is of the monster. I mean, how do you prove that something in a photograph is a monster? But what I do try and do is also debunk the debunkers. They come up with these theories, and you do. That's the one. The 3 humps is also meant to be a head slightly to the left, just breaking surface. Well, people say that's hay bales covered in tarpaulin. How do you prove that? I mean, people said that Lachlan Stewart confessed to a guy called Richard Frere that he perpetrated it with hay bales. But I was in contact with Lachlan Stewart's daughter only a few years ago, and she knew nothing about this. Her dad never confessed to her that it was a hoax, so why would Richard Frere confess to a total stranger that he'd hoaxed his photograph, yet never tell his family? It doesn't make sense. And then you have Peter McNabb, his large hump swimming past the castle.
Yeah, very impressive photo.
People just assume Peter McNabb was an amateur photographer. He developed his own photographs. So people immediately assume, oh yeah, well, he could have faked it himself then and painted something on photograph. So people just assume the worst of people come forward. And that's why a lot of people are afraid to come forward. Afraid they'll get ridiculed and all that, because you get people just waiting in the background to jump on them like a ton of bricks. And that's been happening the last few decades. I mean, so people just regard the subject as a joke. So people will not. That's the one. That is Roy Marco's overlay. Roy Marco in '76 wrote a book called The Monsters of Loch Ness. He claimed there's some inconsistencies with the photograph and the negative that he was sent by Peter McNabb. But once again, I cover these objections in my various articles. So just go to my blog and you'll see on the right-hand side bar Nessie photographs. You click through that to get the latest, well, my opinion. It's not that nothing's official about this website. I mean, there's nothing official about anything about Loch Ness Monster, whatever anyone may claim. You click through. I mean, I'll be here hours on end. We'll be past midnight explaining the where's, the hows and whys and ins and outs of all these photographs. But the 50s rolled on to 1960. Constance White wrote a book called More Than a Legend in 1957, and that kind of is accredited with stirring up the subject again. And Tim Dinsdale read that book. Ian Franksell read that book, and others, and that stirred up new interest because it brought the subject right up to date. Tim Dinsdale was at the Loch 3 years later, and he took his famous film of a black object going up across the Loch. We also had Peter O'Connor, who took a photograph in 1960, showing a very close-up view of what looks like a plesiosaur. But that was actually the last good photograph in 1960, because for some strange reason there's no really any photographs Loch Ness Monster in the 1960s. I mean, despite all the heightened interest, you had the Loch Ness Investigation Bureau starting up, and you had all these volunteers coming up every year. But there's no really. The black and white photographs seem to end with Peter O'Connor. That's the one. He took that with his flash bulb, and he's pretty quite close to it. So I tend to defend that photograph as well. Once again,
that's always been my favoured one.
that's your favourite one.
Yeah,
it's a good one. I wrote at least five articles in that photograph, covering objections and so on. But I mean, once again, I can't prove anything's a monster, but I can certainly argue with debunkers into a stalemate. And we just end up in the middle of ground. Nothing's been disproven or proven.
Isn't the general vibe on that one that it's a canoe?
Yeah, that doesn't work. It's
no, it doesn't work for you, that theory. I think Dick Rayner favours that theory, isn't it?
I explore, shall I say, explored that view in one of my articles.
Yeah.
I said he used the wrong model of canoe to start with. It was a double. It was a two-man canoe, not a single man.
Yeah.
And the hide. He said it basically O'Connor bulked up the hide of the boat with rocks and that. It doesn't stretch. You can't stretch it, and it would retain its shape basically. And if you do an overlay of the back of the canoe for the O'Connor photograph, they don't fit. So people have to try harder, I'm afraid, when it comes to debunking various things.
You've interviewed Harry Finley, haven't you? I believe that's right, isn't it?
Yeah, that was
yeah. Is he still alive?
I don't know. He's
He's
still on Facebook.
Yeah, because that sighting, out of all the sightings, is probably, well, it's got to be near the best, is it not? If not, in terms of
Triple A sighting. People rank Bonds and Gilts Triple A, double A. This is a Triple A. This is a Triple A Nessie sighting, in my opinion. Obviously, he thought of his mother back in the 52, I think.
Yeah, they
he was only 12.
Still old enough to be reliable.
He's now in his early mid-80s. But I found him on Facebook. See how easy this is sometimes. We've got someone. You just type in Harry Finley and you find him. And he was in Perth, just up the road from me, an hour's drive. So I arranged to meet him with my video camera, and we taped a conversation. It's on YouTube. Just look for Harry Finley, Loch Ness Monster. You'll probably find it. But he's still sticking to his story to this day. He drew the same picture, sketched it out. And as I said, whatever it was 20, 30 feet away. I mean, there's no mistaking something from 20, 30 feet away.
Exactly.
I mean, because it had two kind of bulbous horns on top, people assumed he's seen a deer in the act of drowning or something like that. But how can you mistake a deer?
Exactly. No, I visited these sites as well, and gone through the motions of that. And yes, it's not very wide at all, is it? The loch at that point by the pier, and you can't two people anyway can't mistake something. So that's one of the sightings anyway, which is the solid evidence, isn't it?
There's other similar ones like that. I mean, Valentine and the others is. I mean, long night sightings are about 10% of database. You're more likely to see a single hump, a double hump. That tends to be. Do I answer these comments below?
I'll have a look. There's one in actually.
That was Simon.
Thank you, Simon. No, it's if you're going to see the monster, it's more likely to be a single hump, a large hump moving across the water, which it could either just suddenly rise vertically at the water and then suddenly submerge vertically. It's like a vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, and it just goes up, down. You probably see a lot of foam, and a hump will generally be several feet long, could be longer. And people just call that the basic sighting. But some people give it a right arm just to have a basic sighting of the creature. So it's just a fascinating subject that people who see the monster is just generally people who just have turned up for the first time ever. It's like a lottery ticket, really. You just don't know if you're going to see it or not. You just as careful as people like me try to be, look at maps and where all the sightings are most common there. At the end of the day, you're basically probably as likely as anyone who turns up the loch to see it. Obviously, the more you look at the loch, the more likely you are to see something. But my tactics are, I'm not very good at staring at something for long periods of time. I mean, if you look at the water, if you just keep looking at the loch for hours on end, you're going to find you're going to get bored, lose concentration. Yeah.
But it's also like when you're looking at stuff at night, if you look into the darkness long enough, your eyes will start projecting stuff, won't it? You start thinking that you've seen something and you won't have. And I think you get the same thing with water quite often, don't you? And so you have to blink every now and then to change the amount of light you've got in your eyes and change the angle that you're looking at things from,
Yes, I actually think Ness is more a nocturnal creature. So me and some of the other guys from the Loch Ness exploration go out at night time. Of course, that has its disadvantages because it's pitch dark. So you have to employ certain things like infrared cameras and so on. But I actually remember a story. A bunch of the guys were up there a few months back. They pitched their tent near Invermorriston, and they were just chatting out in their chairs about 2 a.m, and they suddenly heard this gigantic splash just down at the shore. And he said, "What was that?" They said to me they didn't go down to investigate, but it sort of sounded like a fridge or a car being thrown into the loch, which I can quite concur with. Next day we actually went down and did an experiment. I went down. We had a walkie-talkie. They stayed up at the top of the hill and we started throwing rocks of various sizes into the loch, saying, "Did you hear that? Did you hear that?" And we didn't quite find a rock large enough to mimic the sound that they heard at 2 a.m. Some people think maybe someone was fly tipping, throwing an old fridge down the loch, but that's a bit hard to. That doesn't really wash, because if you throw a fridge down the hillside, it just ends up on the beach. It doesn't end up in the loch.
And in any case, you'd hear a long bang, 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 bang as it went down, wouldn't you?
Yeah, this is just a big sudden splash.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other team members of the L&E team, just a couple of months before the castle, they're just actually looking across. It was dark again, but they began to throw stones into the loch to try and stir something. And Dave and Alan, part of the team, I wasn't there. I wish I was. I was actually just a few hundred yards away. Said they just heard a sudden splash and something propelling itself forward in the water. And Dave just saw the hint of a hump, a dark hump moving back underwater. He didn't bring his infrared camera, he said, because it was in danger of getting waterlogged because it was raining. So that's what we call the Loch Ness hoodoo. It's the modern equivalent of someone forgetting to take their lens cap off when they take a picture.
Yeah.
So it's things are happening, and I believe all of it. I mean, that was Dave and Alan's big thing, I think. Because no one will say, "Oh yeah, that was definitely a monster." Because once again, well, how do you prove it? Was it an otter? Was it a seal? I mean, the biggest thing outside of the Loch Ness monster that you could find in Loch Ness is a seal. But however, seals do not live in Loch Ness. They just come in now and again chasing salmon. Sometimes they manage to find a way back out. Unfortunately, I don't know how many don't, and they just die. But a seal would be a harbour seal, grey seal. Normally people say, well, it's a seal. It's a seal. And they say it's a seal, but they have actually no idea if there was a seal in the loch at that time. So it's a bit disingenuous. And seals are about 4 foot long, 3 foot long.
Aye.
So a nest could be 10 times that length. In which case, people normally bring in the second a tactic. They say it's impossible to estimate size over long distances. So you have all these kind of things going on where eyewitnesses are kind of dissed or gaslighted. It's just the bottom line is no. If you're a skeptic, you're basically saying that of all the thousands of witnesses, not one has accurately described what they saw, claimed to have seen. And that to me is highly improbable.
Yes, that's a very good point.
The Loch Ness curse, it says down there. Yeah, I can. That was often talked about by hunters in the 60s and 70s. I think it's just nerves and laziness and lack of preparation.
And what do you make of the Dinsdale film we mentioned earlier?
Yeah, I tend to believe it's.
Yeah, you don't go with the boat theory.
No, it's. Well, he looked at it through his binoculars. I mean, people say it was only a small pair of binoculars, but I just thought with binoculars you could eventually make out what he was seeing. It was a mile away though. That's the main problem. 1,700 yards away. He was on the main road high up in the hill. So people say he was too tired. It was his last day and all that. I think I tend to agree. It is a large creature. I mean, I rate films of photographs. I mean, I might say on a scale of 0 to 100%, I might say I'm 90% convinced by a photograph, or I might be 60% or 55%. And then if you're getting a bit skeptical, you see a 45%. So which means you're on the other side of 50%. Yeah, that you don't actually think it's on balance. You don't think it's the real deal. So I don't class every photograph of film in the same degree. You know.
What about the Ryan's photos? What do you make on those? Quite controversial.
Yeah, some of them are not. I mean, the 72 flipper photograph. Now I don't know what was going on there, but what we saw in the popular press was an airbrushed image.
Yeah.
The original image is definitely airbrushed. Robert Rines can't explain it. He's not alive now, but he implied that some magazine editor, independent of him, had taken it upon his own to touch it up. But this takes the word touching up to new extremes, new levels. It's like a total rewrite. So, but the actual original photograph does show something, but because you're in peaty, silty water, you're always going to be battling against those elements, and it's there's something there. I mean, people say that what was claimed to be the main bone of the flipper, the long part. Some people say it's just a groove in the silt created by the camera's dragging. And I just,
can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced by that. I mean, silt is very nebulous and very, grooves are hard to leave behind. You just stir up clouds of silt, I think. And there's something there, but it's just inconclusive. The 75 underwater photographs, you have the gargoyle head. People generally accept that is just a tree root trunk. Now, actually, I must say that when I first saw that photograph as a teenager, I didn't accept it, because I said, what they presented was something that looked like a gargoyle. You've seen the pictures and the artist impressions, but once again, I went back to the database of sightings, And no one has described a head like that ever by any eyewitness. So once again, you bring a photograph, it's got to have some kind of relationship to the corpus of eyewitness accounts. You just can't have a new head. It looks totally different. But the other photograph, which looks, that's the one. I mean, when I saw it, I found it hard to see anything.
Well, you could interpret an eye and an open mouth if you really wanted to, if you look at that.
Could you?
Yeah.
But, yes.
Hang on. I'm going to look at the screen. Hang on. Oh,
Let's have a look.
I didn't mean to do that.
That's a forest
I've lost-
scene there.
Quite a lovely forest.
Yeah, look, you can see. So towards the there's kind of like an eye type structure and an
Wow.
open mouth. But that's sort of towards
There.
that's the one there.
Yeah.
That's the eye, and then you've got the open mouth in
Where's
front
the
of
mouth?
it. There,
Hello.
yeah, there's a lip, the top lip. But that's what you've just got to use your imagination a bit, I think, and interpret it to what you.
There's another photograph showing a long neck and a bulbous body. I think that is genuine because it's in mid-water. It's just blue up all around it, not silt. So I think that is a genuine creature. How big it is has been estimated to be about 8 foot, depending how you view the mass. So he had some success, but going underwater is a bit of a risk. It's just so peaty.
The flipper photo as well, wasn't that estimated to be like 6 foot long? Have you heard?
Well,
I heard that. That's huge. If that's just one of the flippers, one of 4 flippers on a big body, then that's quite a size.
Yeah, well-
but anyway, that's just some areas have said that.
Well, on the subject of how big is Loch Ness Monster, I mean, there's more than one been floating around that place for the last. I mean, it's been seen for centuries. But my own view is that maybe back in the late 19th century, something got into the loch from the sea, and it just grew and grew and grew until by the 1930s it was gigantic. We're talking about a 50-footer maybe. I think there was a kind of, and Tim Dinsdale says this as well in his first book. He believed there was some kind of bull monster, the main man within the loch. It was the originator of the original tales, and that it was the big one, and everyone was more likely to see that. And it probably died about the 1970s. So we think that maybe the Peter McNabb picture shows that big beast. Other people like Torquil MacLeod, who saw it on land back in 1960, described it as 45 foot long. That creature's now dead. It's now lying at the bottom of the loch, partly covered in silt. So good luck in finding that. But in 26 square miles. But what we have left in the loch is probably a smaller population of smaller animals, but still Nessies. How many, I don't know.
In one of Robert Rhines's later expeditions, because he carried on, didn't he? He carried on visiting the loch until later in life. He kind of found like a skeletal structure at the bottom of the loch. Did you see that? A long neck, body type. Yeah. What did you make of that?
Yeah, I think it's a tree debris. But if it really was something important, somebody should have gone down and got it. I mean, they knew the location of it. I mean, if someone really did believe that was the remains of a large creature, what's stopping them getting samples? DNA samples on Nessie are a bit hard to come by. I mean, there was a recent story in Daily Record or something about during the war, they were testing submarine nets and someone caught something, apparently Loch Ness, some large giant serpent creature. Apparently just threw the thing back in. I wish they'd taken a bit of DNA before they'd done that. And there's other claims that there's a story back in 10, 20 years ago that somebody's boat had stopped working. The propeller was jiggered, so they took it into an Inverness harbour repair shop and they put it up in its stilts on dry land. They found that the propeller was covered in black mucus, blubbery type substance. So the story goes that they scraped it all off, threw it away, and they didn't know. If this story is true, once again, nobody made any attempt to retain any what may have been the flesh from an injured creature. Yeah, obviously it's all part of the folklore, bit of hearsay. I wasn't there when it happened, so but it makes the subject interesting.
I'm particularly interested in the land sightings.
So am I.
You've done a particular study on them, haven't you?
Yeah, there's various categories of Loch Ness monster sighting. Obviously, we have Nessie in her natural habitat, swimming along in the water. Some other times, people see it underwater, divers. We have this other peculiar class of land sightings. So they're very exceedingly rare. I mean, if you thought it was difficult to see Nessie in the water, I mean, it's even more difficult to see it on land. Maybe there's a few dozen of these stories have accrued over the last 100 or so years. Basically, people are just walking or driving, and suddenly this huge thing just crosses the road in front of them, or they see it on the beach, and it seems to be very timid. Whatever it is, the slightest noise, it bolts back into the loch. Most of them do describe the usual bulbous body, forelimbs. Sometimes they only describe front forelimbs. Sometimes they see a tail. But obviously a land sighting, if it's true, is important because you get to see the entire creature. It's not like the tail of the tail of the blind men and the elephant. They each touch something. The tail, it's a snake, or the legs, it's a tree. So if some of them obviously have their own misidentification and hoaxing, but they do tend to describe the same general morphology. And we get to see Nessie full-bodied. There's only one photograph claiming to be of Nessie on land, taken by Ian Monkton in 2009. This is at night time, and he parked his car. He heard the proverbial splash again, like a car being thrown into water. So he backed his car over the headlights over the shore, and he just reached his mobile phone. He couldn't see anything. He actually didn't see anything. He just heard it. His mobile phone. He took a few flash photographs, and out came this thing looking like a roast chicken. It was brown. It had the bulbous body and kind of appendages that looked like chicken drumsticks. That's the one.
That one there. Isn't that in? Is that out of water then? That's actually outside the.
Yeah, is it possible that they're coming up on shore to lay eggs, like a turtle does? Is there any? When the land? I know the land sightings are really rare, but is it possible that they're all seasonal, like they all happen between September 1st and September the 30th? Because that could be a breeding thing. They could be coming up to lay eggs.
Good point.
Yeah, because I've seen turtles lay eggs, but I've only ever seen it once. And they used to lay eggs where I used to fish when I was not a kid, as a young man. They used to come up there and lay eggs all the time. And but I only ever saw it once myself, and I used to spend a lot of time. Well, fishing's fishing, But
with some species, it's like 3 nights of the year every year, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm wondering if you could, we could take a look at when the dates of these sightings on land and see if it is a seasonal thing, because we kind of need Richard here for this. We need that zoological or biological. I don't know how often all animals breed. Humans, we breed when we want. We're all guys, so we're all trying to breed all the time. But I know a lot of animals, like the turtle. 3 nights a year. If we could figure out if there is something there.
I'm just actually looking at Roland's book now, and you've got the sightings here, haven't you? And dates when available, but they are quite random, aren't they? I don't think there's a pattern. It's all
No
seems to be
pattern.
a year-round thing by the look of it. Yeah.
Well, it could be too. So,
Ian, how do you spell the land photograph?
Oh, that one. I've lost it now. Let's have a look. It is
Ian Monkton.
Ian Monkton. Yeah, there we go. But Roland, there's one sighting on land though. Do you know the one from 1527 where Duncan Campbell refers to the monster as a terrible beast which came out onto land and started overthrowing oaks with the greatest of ease. The beast then went on to kill 3 men. So, have you heard of that one?
Yep, it's
What do you make of that?
It's a corruption of the original text. It's the original text doesn't refer to Loch Ness Monster at all.
No.
It's the story related to it is a guy called Fraser Glenvackie who killed the last dragon of Scotland, allegedly. That did actually happen near Loch Ness, the story. But it's just one of those things that gets interpolated. Well, once you find the original source of the story, it doesn't mention Loch Ness Monster at all. Someone has been sticking bits on the original story.
So
well,
Nessie
the St. Columbo one wasn't even in Ness, was it? I mean, that was in the river.
Yeah, but that's the de facto historical story. It's the first account of anything to do with Loch Ness Monster. It was in the River Ness, the top of the loch. The original Latin text written by Damnon, who was a biographer of Columba.
Yeah,
he calls Loch Ness the lake of the River Ness, so they just regarded it all as the same water complex. Why Columba, of all places, should encounter a monster in that place? I mean, why could it be a Loch Lomond or Loch Tay?
And isn't that the only report of it actually attacking somebody, or have you heard of any others?
There's only one full-blooded someone gets killed story.
Really?
The creature killed. The story starts with someone being killed by the monster, and then St. Columba commands one of his servants to cross the lake, swim over the river rather. The monster appears and rushes towards him, and St. Columba invokes the name of God, and the beast turns 180 degrees, and off he goes. And the Picts were totally convinced by this, and that's why we're all Christians today. Well,
aye. But it's a bit suspicious that in that one story where you need it to be fierce in order to give St. Columba some street creds, as it were, that's the only one where it's actually violent to anyone.
I'm trying to think of others. One or two stories where people claim the monster rushed towards them, but clearly didn't kill them because they told us about it. But Nessie is no great white shark. I tell you that right away. There'll be no boats in Loch Ness or swimmers.
And another thing is that ours in Scotland seem to be pretty peaceful and timid. You go anywhere near them and they dash into the water or they turn around and swim away. But across in Ireland, in Erin, they've got big loch creatures that are about 8, 9, 10 foot long that are being reported by people going to these lochs, and they're describing them like pinnipeds with very long necks. And some of those are reported to have attacked people.
Right.
So that's quite interesting to bring into the thing. But also over in Eastern Europe, over that side of the continent, we've got other lake monsters which are reputed to be killers.
Which ones?
there's a fair few, aren't there, John? There's that what's that big lake on the edge of Siberia?
What, Lake Indiana?
It
Kaya.
could be, yeah.
Kaya. Khayr.
Oh, Lake Kaya, yeah.
Well, there's one there that Richard wants to go and look at because he finds it as fascinating as I do. And there's stories coming out of there on a regular basis of people from that region. They go there to fish, to catch fish seasonally because they're like homesteaders and they want to catch fish, smoke it, store it, and they've only got a limited time because it's the northern, far north. So you'll get two men go out on a boat and then something will swim up, hit the boat to knock them out of it, and then take one of them and take him down. And then you often get a survivor who gets to the shore, and then that's how the story gets out as to what happened. And this is a recurring theme.
Well, the folklore Loch Ness, you had water horses, and they were definitely killers.
Aye, no kelpie.
You didn't want to go near a water horse.
No.
It would want every part of you except your liver. Obviously, in that story, it would metamorphose into a normal horse, and then once someone jumped on it for a ride, they would stick to the saddle and it would just race into the loch to kill them. And the Loch Ness water horse also was given that attribute because the stories of the water horses in Loch Ness go back to centuries. And water bulls were the more docile version of aquatic cryptids. And the kelpies actually inhabited rivers, not lochs, but they sometimes get mixed up. So we have killers in folklore, but not in real life. Just as well.
What do you make of the George Spicer sighting?
Yeah, that's an important story. That one. It's up until that point, the Loch Ness monster had made national headlines in Scotland. Local newspapers were carrying stories from about May 1933 onwards, after a lady called Aldi Mackay saw something. But by July 1933, George Spicer had written to Courier saying, "Well, I actually saw this thing crossing the road." And once that story was printed, all the papers picked it up, and it became international. It was being printed in international newspapers. Giant creature crosses road. This took it to a new level. What did he see? I don't think he actually had heard of the monster at that point. So whatever he saw took him by surprise. I think he did see the creature on one of its rare excursions. This was on the quiet back roads on the south side of the loch, where a lot of the land sightings occur. You don't hear so many on the other side, on the Glasgow-Inverness road. So what he saw, again, the bulbous body, a tail and a neck, which actually was a very strange neck because it was undulating, which makes, if it was a normal neck with vertebrae, it could not undulate in that manner, which makes me think sometimes that the so-called neck may actually just be soft tissue. But his wife saw it as well, and Rupert T. Gould, who wrote the first major work on the monster in 1934, interviewed him and was convinced by the story. However, he added a note. He had it. Somebody found his own annotated copy of the book, and in it he said, "If I were to rewrite this book, I would now think they just saw a huddle of deer across the road." Okay, that's his opinion, but I've seen deer crossing the road at Loch Ness, and they don't tend to huddle together. They just might go in a line, or just one or two. Once again, we have an explanation which doesn't really fit real life, but it's plausible as opposed to probable, in my opinion. Others say they saw otters or heat haze. So now, what's the odds of seeing that?
Plus, other camps say that King Kong was released around that time as well, and that was putting ideas into people's heads, as there's a very Nessie-like creature in that film, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, Spicer had said to go that he saw King Kong, which came out. It probably came out in March 33 and premiered in London, but then it took months to tour the country. I mean, it's still been shown. I think it premiered in some place like Inverness in September. Did that influence him? He didn't say so. He just said what he saw looked like a brontosaurus in one of the scenes, the swamp scene from King Kong, which chased him in. But how does that translate to seeing something crossing the road? Was the psychology of the film really that powerful? You imagine a bunch of deer as a plesiosaur?
Was this a night sighting?
No, it's about 3 in the morning.
It
July
was.
afternoon.
And it was July, so it also
Mid-afternoon.
as well, maybe with the road, when you look on a hot day, isn't it, the road ahead of you goes a bit funny and blurry from the heat. They say some say that may have influenced the sighting as well.
Yeah.
Well, that's usually a pretty acute angle, though. Like very close to the ground. It doesn't tend to distort the air about 6 or 7 foot off the ground, does it? Really?
Yeah, and the road back in the modern road, South Road, is now the usual bitumen tarmac affair, which actually is good at radiating heat and causing heat hazes. But back
was
in the
it
30s,
like that in the 30s?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Well,
it was resurfaced in the 1960s, 30 years after Spicer. It's probably more just gravel road, so less likely to be.
Yeah, you wouldn't get the same heat haze from that, would you?
No. People assume that things are as they see them today, but 90 years ago, conditions could have been quite different. Yeah, definitely were. So genuine sighting, AAA again.
And what about the more recent ones taken? I think they were taken in 2018. It was quite a sequence. They were been quite widely distributed by the lady Chi, I think her name was. Is that right?
Chi Kelly, yeah.
Yeah. What do you make on those? Because there's there's definitely something going on there, isn't there?
There is something going on. It's I mean, those pictures came out 2023, I think. She actually took them in 2018. She sat on them because her husband was working, had a professional job, and didn't want the hassle of that being attached to him, which I quite understand. Once he retired, the photographs came out. People said they were compelling. It's always find a strange word. Compelling is not the same as convincing. Compelling means compels you to investigate further, so that you may end up being convinced. But they are a very interesting photograph. People say they're just divers, because divers frequent Doors Bay now and again. No one has come forward saying, "Yep, that was us." Divers clubs and all that, who regularly frequent that, have not confessed. It wasn't on the day most of them dive anyway. I mean, the actual objects in the water are not massive. It's only a few feet across. Some of them the objects you see, the humps, are about maybe 2 feet. There's actually something that looks very much like a head, or crocodile head.
Yeah.
It's one of the most convincing photograph, not compelling, convincing photograph of the sequence, in my opinion. But they are good photographs. I mean, if it was a divers, I would expect to see some arms sticking out of the water, or so on, or legs. You don't see any limbs or human limbs, suggestive of someone swimming. So you'd have to argue that Chi Kelly was a hoax, and she just removed all the incriminating arms and legs. But once again, you have to not be so cynical in the approach to that. No one can prove that. So I think there's something there, but It's not massive, whatever it is. It's not big.
But also as well, why didn't she take a video? Surely the camera she was using would have had a video function, and that would have been given a lot more away as to what we were looking at. But anyway, that's often the question,
video versus photograph as a trade-off. I mean, if you go for video, you're sacrificing detail and resolution for motion. So I mean, a video still is a poor comparison to a still snap. So I mean, people say videos. Yeah, I mean that gives you a measurement in time of what's happening. But photographs are important too. They give you far more detail than a still frame at 30 frames per second would. So ideally, you want both, not one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
And what about the Gordon Holmes film? I think that's my favourite piece of evidence. What's your view on that?
Yeah, I met Gordon a few times.
Yeah.
As a 80th, we had a kind of 80th celebration of Nessie in 2013, and his video was shown at that symposium, I suppose you could call it. Yeah, I mean, it looks like a good video. I mean, something eel-like maybe. Supporters of the giant eel theory would like this video. People suggest it's just a wind devil, something swirling up the water. Once again, how do you prove that?
No, there's definitely something there, isn't there? I'm sure as a physical, something physical just under the water. Yes, Adrian has said it was some kind of wind effect, but no, it's difficult to see that, isn't it? So, no, I think that's my favourite piece of evidence out of all the stuff we've got. So.
Yes, that's a good video.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, people these days all carry mobile phones. People say, "Why aren't we getting more pictures?" A lot. It's apart. I mean, there are lots of videos being produced. Almost every sighting these days comes with some kind of video or photograph, but they're all too far away.
Yeah.
There's blobs and so on. We want someone who's. What's that?
I was just going to say, in my experience on that point, if you're in the woods or something, you very often, well, if you're moving quietly, as I do, you'll very often come upon a deer, or a deer will just walk up very close. You can get within like 10 feet of one. But by the time you've thought, oh my God, I better get a photo, and you've reached for your camera, it's gone.
Yep.
And I mean, the magic of that moment is completely subsuming, and it'll take you like 3 or 4 seconds before it even occurs to you that you want to take a photo.
Yeah, I can vouch for that.
I agree totally. I saw a puma crossing the road on Bodmin Moor. I had a camera around my neck. I was driving, but I had a camera around my neck, and I was so completely stunned by the fact that I'd just seen the beast of Bodmin. By the time I thought to take a photograph, it was long gone.
Yep.
The new video sticks you can buy now, they sit here in your pocket. That's what I use out in the woods now.
Yeah.
They sit here in your pocket, and they'll record for 40 minutes with a 256 gig card in it. And that I think is what's going to give us what we need. And this is something that you could use with the lock too. You know, when you're just out looking around, just keep it on, and you can't miss. I just bought another camera that'll go on my hat. So
like a GoPro,
yeah, like it is a GoPro. But just anything that'll get us anything. You know, and I don't think that matters what field you're working in. The more video you've got running, Robin taught me that. She goes, you got to keep it running, you know, and bring an extra battery for it. And because I always bring my backpack, so I hate carrying a lot of extra weight because I'm old. But, you know, you do what you got to do.
Yeah, I mean, I know a couple of guys with body cameras like the police. They take them into Loch Ness. I've got a Camilio clip camera. The problem with them though is if you're moving a bit, it'd be quite shaky.
Yeah.
So some other arrangement on top of that would help. But I agree that the main thing that needs to be done here is continuous capture of data, like you say. If you just turn up at the loch with a camera and look around and go away again, you've been there at the loch for a few hours. That's not long enough.
Well,
Loch Ness has eyes on it all the time, so that's a kind of continuous capture. But my way of doing it is trap cameras, trail cameras.
Yep.
So I remember watching Finding Bigfoot years ago, and I watched these guys strapping these things to trees. I went, hang on a minute, I could try that at Loch Ness. So I bought some. It's 10 years ago. I found a decent location with a tree. They were just pointing at the loch. No obstructions in front of it. Sometimes I bring a secateurs with me just to make sure there's less obstructions. But so that camera, no motion detection we're talking about here. You just strap it around the tree and you walk away. So even as I speak right now, I've got 6 trap cameras stuck on trees around Loch Ness. They're my sentinels. Now they're not perfect because they can't continuously record it. Obviously, fill even the biggest SD card or the batteries will die on you. So there has to be some degree of compromise there. So motion detection, it just sits there and something happens. It takes 3 snaps, or it takes a video clip, 10-second video clip, and then it goes quiet again. I'll come back in April, pick them all up. They would have been there for 7 months. I'll go through them all and see what we've got. I picked up a few strange images in the past. Some better than others. Some just make you scratch your head. You don't know what you're looking at. So you take your camera home, you open it up, take the SD card out. It's got 18,000 images on it. Recorded over,
Yeah, I deploy a lot of cameras too, so I know exactly what you mean.
Most people just leave the cameras for a week.
Oh, you can't do that.
You got to leave them there for the whole.
So
I'm pretty lucky where I'm doing. We've got a lot of coyotes and everything over here, but I've got a game trail not 1,500 meters from my house. I got a game trail that goes through the woods here. So I've got them deployed along there right now, and I'm hoping to pick some stuff up. But I had a big coyote right out at my fence the other day. So
that's the way forward. Continuous gathering of data. I mean, it's like I always use an analogy from astronomy. I mean, anyone can point a telescope at Jupiter or the moon. You know what it is. You know what it is. You know where it'll be. But a supernova, can you tell me where the next one's going to appear? You don't know. You have to keep watching all the skies. And then something appears and you take your pictures. So Ness is like a supernova. It just appears brilliant flash at an unknown place and time.
Well, I worked at the place I was working at. I was there for 6 years. Never had anything happen. And was it last summer, John? Yeah, it was just last summer, right?
Yeah.
I had total silence. I had whoops. I had crashing through the woods, and it was just kind of like, what's going on here? Because I never had anything there before.
And then as soon as it started, it stopped.
Yeah, it lasted about...
Everything went haywire, then a few months later, it completely stopped.
Yeah, it was all gone, So I think he just wandered in, found all those turkeys, because we had a big flock of turkeys there. I think when he was done eating, it was time to go.
You had a flock.
They're very migratory, those things, anyway, aren't they?
Yeah, I really do think. And I actually, I know I've discussed with John. I was trying to figure out migration patterns on them.
Yeah.
And I was going the wrong side of the city. because I actually think the migration path is the Thames River, which I live on. So I'm thinking that's where they're coming up. That's why I've got the cameras out, because we've got deer, coyote, foxes. Something's going to come in to eat, and that's what I'm hoping for. But, you know, we could always use pictures of the foxes and coyotes too for fillers and that on all our videos and that. So
I've got a confession to make. I've actually got one trail camera dedicated to big cats.
Oh, so nice.
I have a camera not facing the loch, obviously.
Yeah.
which is up the back end of the woods somewhere, Loch Ness, just over some prime spot, you know, maybe near a stream.
Yeah.
Clear open woodland, just waiting and snapping anything. Goes down the hill, goes up the hill.
Yeah.
Because one of my colleagues in the M&A team says that he saw some black puma type cat near Drumnadrocket some years back, up in the hills. He just saw this thing going diving into a culvert somewhere. He was totally convinced that it was a large black cat of some description, puma or whatever. And you know, these things have been tracked throughout the decades throughout Scotland. So I've hooked onto that as well. Well, most cameras are pointed at loch. I get one camera, probably just photograph deer, but
hey, you never know.
Experiment. You don't know till you try.
Do you have any Scottish wildcats in your area?
Oh,
that would be nice, wouldn't it? That would be nice.
I could easily pick up one of them. I mean, Frank Serrell, the famous hoaxer, he had a pet wildcat. He's called Toby. He did. He said that when he was doing his rounds around the forest, he found a litter of wildcat kittens, and he took one, and it became his cat. So he found something unusual. So he obviously he wouldn't have picked up an adult.
We always end up talking about Frank Serrell, don't we? He is like the patron saint of this show.
Yin and yang, yin and yang, black and white.
Do you think his caravan was pushed into the loch, like they say, Roland? Because is that true? It was. So it still should be there then, at the bottom of the bay.
There's a rusting hulk. Not. I don't know how deep it is, but once he left, he couldn't take his caravan with him. He just abandoned it, and for some reason, some people just tip. You know, there's a ramp. There's a rampway. There's a rampway beside the caravan. You just turn it around. It'll go right off the edge of the harbour.
I don't like that at all.
It's not very good for the environment.
I hate it when people litter around there, especially when they camp on the.
Especially in an oily caravan in the loch isn't very
well. There's one of your fly tipping. It's maybe someone 100 yards away thought they had the monster jumping in the loch.
What do you think about there have been so many images now that have been captured as stills from the Loch Ness webcams? Do you think any of them are of any use?
I think they are, yes. I think there's 5 or so. I mean, some are better than the others. There's one at the Clansman Hotel. I think that's the best one of getting something. But others are, the resolution's not so good. And whenever something gets printed, it's quite pixelated. It's not convincing at all. So I always encourage people to just stick to the best webcams, even if nothing turns up for a long time. You will see some things, but once again, you've got to be on your toes, ready to record it, because the webcams don't record for you. You'll have to manually start it and stop it.
Who owns these webcams?
I think contributed by the tourist board, but certainly it's a collaboration with private owners.
It seems a bit of a shame to have recordable equipment sitting there going 24/7 and not recording the feed. even if they just recorded the feed and then switched to another one, and then that was backed up, and then the public could come and download it and then analyze it.
Yeah, that would be
You know
good.
what I mean? And then begin to
Shared
record.
data, yeah.
That would be a far better idea, really.
This is this continuous data capture I talked about.
Aye.
Something will go in front of these cameras, but maybe probably not when someone's watching. So,
Yes, exactly.
but
But
who's
if
going
you
to
had,
review it?
there is one guy who's pretty dedicated to staring at those cameras 24/7. And if someone who's that obsessive actually had that ability to download
You
recording,
talk about Owen Fagan.
I am, yeah.
Yes.
If he had the ability to download that like 12 hours at a time or whatever, he's so obsessive he'd probably actually put them on big drives and keep them for some time or whatever, and then if you did have something there, you'd probably have pretty damn good evidence
Mm-hmm.
when it eventually did show up.
Yeah, Eowyn has one or two interesting clips. Problem is, he says he sees it so often that you think that Nessie must be surfacing every 10 minutes. And if some of the stuff he says he's seen surfacing, we have yet to see anyone say they saw it at the same time online, in situ. We've yet to see a corroboration of any of the clips he's produced.
I do think he over-eggs the biscuit a bit, but he is. The point is that he is quite obsessively observant about it, and if it did actually show up clearly, he would be the first one to ring the bell on it, and then you'd have that, as public evidence, wouldn't you?
I would encourage people at Eowyn to keep viewing the webcams because when that 30-foot creature swims by at close range, it'll be an unmistakable video clip.
Mm-hmm.
No one will be arguing with that.
Yeah.
So no one as yet has found that clip. As I said, it's the lottery when Nessie doesn't tend to surface and do synchronized swimming or anything.
If you did have a constant recording that you switched over to one, you backed that up, then when it automatically went to the other, and then it would switch back again. You could use an AI. You could use an AI to scan all the way through it find anything that was, like any large change in what's going on in the picture. You could use an AI for that.
Yeah, it'd be like the trail cameras I use, which motion detect. Except they're basically live streaming. But if we had the equivalent of our motion detection over recorded video and earmarked segments of interest, that would be great.
It would,
but no one's doing that. I don't know how. I mean, there must be some software you can extract from these trail cameras, which could be on a PC against a equivalent of a video replay.
Right.
Well, they have that UFO camera now that identifies what you're seeing in the sky. It'll say unidentified or jet, drone. I was watching that on Destination Truth.
Yeah.
No, Expedition Truth, sorry. Not Destination Truth, Expedition Truth, which is the newer one, new George Gates show. And that was quite interesting. I was thinking that might actually work because it's, or you might be able to get something out of it because it has the AI identifying the stuff. Where, you put in every possible configuration Nessie might come up in, and it'll identify it and target it and record it on a separate drive. You could have your main feed and then a separate drive to grab these clips.
You could show it footage of things like grebes and swans and all sorts of things that might be mistaken.
Yeah.
And then it would be able to sort of discount those, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And just go, no, that's a swan, we're not going to record that. Because I was thinking, because Scotland, your weather's a lot like here in Canada. You know, you never know what you're going to get in the lake. You know, you probably got some pretty good storms along there. I've never been, so I don't know, but I'm going to assume you get pretty good. You'll get some good bangers going there, and you don't want to be filling up your identification drive with, you know, a 5-foot wave on the thing. You want to be able to identify it and pull it up as a possible sighting.
That is the problem. Water waves, rough waves do fool the cameras.
Yeah,
and the eye sometimes.
So that's where that AI that would identify it as water, like a wave.
Yeah, that's where AI could be trained to filter water patterns, but then trail cameras are not that clever yet.
But you get into the same problem as I have. I want to go into the Fraser Valley bad. John knows this. I want to go to the Nahanni Valley, but the cost of doing those expeditions are just so expensive. And your equipment's going to be cost you. It's going to be up in that price range too. You know, I don't know what kind of. Now, I think Loch Ness has a lot bigger following than anything that I would want to do. You know, I go, oh, Dave Scott wants go. You know, but we're not helping you. You know, where you guys might be able to generate enough cash to actually do an AI system. I'm not sure how that would work for you. I don't know how it works.
I think Louis
how good it is at getting money in to do things.
Couldn't he, John? Louis could do the technicals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's down to market demand. Produce a trail camera that intelligently handles the environment in front of it. It will happen. It'll be commoditized. AI will be commoditized for various applications. I mean, I'm a software engineer, but I don't think I would.
Well, that's great.
Trying that out. But I'm not.
So you might be able to come up with something yourself, and that would save you a ton of money.
What I'd like to do is get the software that these trail cameras work on. You know, it just runs on a chip in firmware, and just put it on a PC.
Yeah, that would be great.
And instead of something coming in on the lens, you actually feed it an MP4 file or something like that, and it starts detecting.
That would be very cool.
Brilliant idea.
Yeah.
So somebody get to it.
Just remember, we encourage you to do this. So when you do it, if you could do one, you know, a little ID for Bigfoot, Sasquatch, I greatly appreciate it.
There's probably some, so what we basically want is a nice bit of motion detect software which runs on video replays. 24 hours long at a time, maybe.
Yeah. You could get the wireless cams now too, so you can check them constantly. You can get notifications on your phone that your trail camera took a picture, and you can actually go in and look at it now.
Yeah, I had one of those.
Yeah. Does it work very good?
Well, I was 170 miles away.
Yeah.
The SIM card in the trail camera would transmit the picture to your phone.
Yeah.
But it cost you money.
Yeah. You guys still paying for data over there?
Yeah. Well, there was probably less data back in that day, but you know, you'd be charged by the megabyte or whatever.
Yeah.
Today, it probably would be cheaper, you know, gigabytes megabytes. But once again, I get a lot of fake, false positive, false pictures from waves and stormy weather, so that just put me off.
Well, if you worked on it, you started off doing it for your black cats.
Yep.
If you started it off, the software would be a little easier to configure. And once you got that perfected, then you could go out and expand it for the lock itself. You know, for identifying stuff and just make your life a little easier.
Well, trying to find cats is a bit easier because you're not looking across constantly changing water surfaces. The grassland and forests are less changeable.
Yeah.
You still get waves though, don't you, with grassland? But it wouldn't be
Not as
hectic.
severe, yeah.
Not as hectic at all.
It's not as volatile. I mean, you have grass and branches swaying, but you can try and avoid those. As I said, I sometimes cut branches off that are in the way of the camera. You can't remove water, so
Yeah.
you're stuck until you get out.
Yeah, if you can remove water, you could just look and see what's in there.
Yeah, just drain
there it
them
is.
off.
What about using just above surface sort of laser scans? Has anybody ever thought of that?
How about LiDAR? You had a LiDAR?
Yeah, I mean,
there was some. I read that some luxury boats had LiDAR on them. On top of the mast, and they just scan the surface around them, and they could actually find perturbations on the surface. I thought if Nessie was sticking out the water, maybe a 4-foot hump out the water, it could be probably detected. This is radar, isn't it? It could be detected by these radar systems. I mean, if I had.
How about having a buoy with a LiDAR just sitting on a stick on top of it?
Well, yeah, I mean, if I was a multi-millionaire, I'd probably have some radar system, pushing out radio waves across a lot, bouncing back to you and detecting unusual anomalies on the surface, like, oh, Nessie's just surfaced, quick, activate the nearest camera. So
I got my lottery ticket. I haven't checked it yet. If I got the $40 million, I'll be down to send a donation to help you out with that.
We'll collaborate on a project if that happens. Yeah, LiDAR, sonar, and optical, and thermal.
Yeah, and thermal. Yeah. If it's a reptile, I don't know how well thermal works on reptiles.
Well, it does
show they're cold-blooded, right?
It does show cold as well as hot. I mean, it will show up as very dark.
Yeah.
If it's cold.
Oh, okay. So this will pick it up. Okay.
Yeah, we put thermals on Loch Ness. I mean, what should we see? That's the problem. It's like, what does a Nessie look on sonar? What does a Nessie look on radar or LiDAR? What does a Nessie look like on a thermal camera? It's a bit of an unknown here. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if it's warm-blooded, we're going to see some red hot spots. If it's a reptile, there'll be something a bit more vague. But thermals on Loch Ness, I mean, they capture ducks, the black spots on white background. So I would have thought any animal that suffers Loch Ness would be visible on thermal camera.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a drone last year, 2024, I think, a drone that picked up something on a thermal camera?
That was Andy McGrath and his team. They came up during one of these quest programs at the Loch to do a documentary.
That was when Kenny was there, wasn't it?
It was called Beast of Britain or something like that. Ken Gerhard was there. He was kind of the host of the video. And they put a thermal drone up in the air. That actually hadn't been done at Loch Ness before. So that was without loads of drones flying around Loch Ness just now, but none of them are thermals, I don't know. So they found some. It was a success in terms of feasibility studies. They did capture something, a hot spot on the other side of the loch, but it turned out to be some people camping on the other side of the loch. So, but it worked.
It worked, yeah.
Yeah, and they proved that the technology works, and anything bigger than that would certainly register significantly, one would hope, on the camera, the thermal drone. I myself, I've seen some Bigfoot as well. The FLIR, F-L-I-R camera manufacturers.
Yeah.
They lend this kind of big bus full of technology and screens and cameras to these guys. And so I wish we could do that at Loch Ness. And I'd actually just keep a thermal drone. You can tether them. You can tether them. They just stay up there all the time. You got this power cable go right up to the drone. It just stays there. It could stay there all night, recording thermals on Loch Ness.
Well, you could have a hot air balloon, couldn't you, staying up there?
Yeah, but wind I mean, drones can GPS compensate. They've got a GPS locator, so
They've
they
got
always,
balance systems as well, haven't they?
a good drone will adjust for these things using GPS, whatever else. But one tethered by a power cable, constantly feeding video back down to something that you mentioned earlier, all night. Once again, all night. I'm saying it. You just can't stick a drone up for an hour, and then it's never at Loch Ness again. It's continuous acquisition of data again. The search for the Nessie supernova. It's all about just taking advantage of technology and putting it to use. Because a lot of Loch Ness research has always really been private venture, just individuals. You don't have big companies. Sometimes you have big companies like sonar companies like Kongsberg. They bring their latest equipment like sonar torpedoes. No, it's not a missile. It's just a torpedo, propelled torpedo with a sonar cone, which you can guide through the water like a guided missile, targeting certain areas. So, those kind of things, to rent one of those would cost you a six figure sum. So we're just stuck with the stuff you get of Argos, maybe. But it's just there's so much technology there, but people say, well, it's a waste of time using that to find a mythical monster. But people do come to Loch Ness to test their equipment, which is good. And they will collaborate with Loch Ness researchers like Adrian Shine. So the technology is out there, and it's getting better and better. And AI, as you say, will add its contribution. Unfortunately, AI just now is just a pain in the backside because all the images you see on Facebook.
Unfortunately, yeah.
It just makes proving a photograph is convincing more difficult these days. Even videos, fake videos as well. I mean, fortunately, just now most AI fakes are just stupid-looking monsters, which no one's would be convinced it's just a joke.
Well, actually, there's a lot of political stuff that's actually fully generated by AIs on there at the moment. Because I keep putting complaints in about it because it's breaching their rules, community standards, and you need more people to complain about it so that they catch it and they delete it, so that eventually people say, well, I'm not going to have my channel marked down because I'm just using an AI to generate a program that I'm not. And they don't even put anything into it. They don't write a script. They don't do the voiceover. They don't. All they do is they say, generate a show that's 30 minutes and it handles this political figure in this situation and tell a story. And it'll tell the whole story. It'll give it narration and it'll even give you video. And then they just upload it.
What I would find entertaining is, these AI things where you can take an old black and white photograph of your grandmother and they'll animate it and colorize it. I thought, wow, it's great to take a old black and white Nessie and animate it. And you have this nice little video clip of Peter McNabb's monster go for a swim around Loch Ness for 5 minutes.
That's brilliant. I think I'm going to go out and do that.
It needs some skill. I mean, I can't do it, but I've got relatives who've done it. So I thought, well, it can't be that difficult. I just need a bit of money. I mean, it didn't prove anything, just animating old black and whites, but it's entertaining. It's
a bit of fun.
Gentlemen, would you believe that we have been nearly 2 hours? We've gone over our time.
Big subject.
And we haven't scratched the bloody surface, have we?
No, we never do.
Roland, thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Roland.
And I'm sorry that you had so many technical issues at first, but I'm glad they all seem to sort themselves out.
Yeah, I hope people hung on for the rest of the show.
Yeah. I want to thank you, Roland, because one way to tell we got a really good guest is I become a little kid. I get really animated and excited, and you got me there.
Yeah, we definitely went off at a tangent. On a long drive. Fun. Yeah, it was good. Actually, a few ideas have popped popped up there, AI and
Yeah.
video. So I have to
Well,
think of
I'd
these
like-
things.
What I'd like to do, if we may, Roland, is if maybe in a year's time, let's do this again and have a look at the next 12 months, or then it'll be the last 12 months in Loch Ness, and no doubt we'll then go off into all sorts of other fascinating tangents.
There's lots to discuss. There's
Thank you
lots
for having on, Roland. It's been wonderful. Thank you, Ian, for coming up with the
Thank you.
The fancy dress.
concept.
Yes.
Thank you, Grog the Eighth Man, and thank you for the encapsulation of the Hobgoblin beer advert.
Top hat man.
And thank you to eBay for sending me my £7.99 hat.
Yes.
And I will see you
dread.
all in a
It's
month's
dread, man.
time.
Do you get a kickback from eBay?
Yes.
Oh,
Time to go home, time to go home from your simply spooky adrenaline ride. Time to go home, time to go home, even if you're terrified. Goodbye. Time to go home, time to go home. Vivian and her weird friends are all going home. Time to go home, time to go home. Vivian is waving goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.